I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, June the 24th, brought to you in part by Noromycin by Norbrook. Noromycin 300 LA is your go-to antibiotic for a broad spectrum of cattle diseases and infections. It's readily available without a script for one more year, guys, and then they're going to change that law and you're going to have a script for everything, including penicillin. So keep that in mind. But for more information on Noromycin 300 LA, go to norbrook.com. Cattle on feed or not? You know, I'm thinking, and I've talked to a lot of guys that said, oh, of course they'll look at it, but they're not going to pay any attention to the cattle on feed reports anymore. You know, if we listen to the cattle on feed reports that we've had for the last 6 to 8 months, that all but one pretty much have been bigger than the year before, and all of a sudden we're out of cattle, especially in the northern plains. Market ready cattle extremely green up there, and packers have been scrambling for cattle. It's helped cause a $14 to $15 price spread in your fat cattle on a direct basis, which we never see. Normally it's more like $2 to $3 spread, but if we believed all that stuff, we would think that we had a wall of cattle coming, and a lot of us did think we had a wall of cattle coming because we were looking at those cattle on feed reports. But we've got a cattle on feed report coming out here today at 2 o'clock Central, and you look at the analysts' guesses, and your on feed inventories are running again larger than a year ago, 101.5. Where are all these cattle coming from? Where do they get the information? Are people filling out questionnaires? I've heard that. Do they fly over the lots with a helicopter and count the empty pens? I've heard that. Where are they getting the information? Are they really working the phones and talking to real people? And why would people tell them the truth? It causes a lot of questions on that, and it really messes up our markets, and it's even messed up the packers. You know, they would have planned for this better if they'd have known that we were going to be so short of market ready cattle right now. But on feed estimates, 101.5. And that would be for June 1st. Your placements of May, 99.7. Really? Where were all those cattle at? Your marketing's 103, which that looks kind of bullish there. But they're likely going to have another all-time record high June placements or high high cattle on feed report for June 1. They're likely going to be another record since the series began. Every damn time they put out a cattle on feed report, something is bigger, wider, stronger, different, a record of some kind since the series began back in '96. But it's just getting absolutely ridiculous. And I've said a million times why we have to wait for them to pull the cape back off of those numbers. Why can't we see the numbers as they're coming to us? Why do we have to wait and have a drum roll and all that, getting ready for those numbers, and then sit and tense up and wait and see what it does to the market? It's absolutely ridiculous. And if you look and you wonder how in the heck can we keep having these big cattle on feed reports with huge inventories, and you look at this this graph here that's put together off a report that I originally started when I was at the USDA Market News, that shows your receipts are much lower than last year and much lower than the 5-year average. So where are all those cattle coming from? But if you want to see the cattle on feed report, and if you have any faith in it or care, it's going to come out at 2 o'clock on Central. We saw some trade again in the fat cattle arena. We saw new highs again. I've heard rumors of 151. We saw confirmed some 151 that was delivered, but I would not be surprised at all if we didn't indeed get the 151 FOB, which I heard from several sources that happened in Iowa. That would stretch that out a little bit more. Your southern plains lower. For the most part on the bulk of the trade. We didn't see any 140 here late in the week after we had those deliveries that were sub 138 that scared off the longs and caused our live cattle contract to fail here. late in the week. But very confusing. Things just don't seem like they're working. The reports don't really jibe, and we're kind of confused on where we're at. But and we got a $14-15 spread between the southern plains and the northern plains. A lot of that has to do with the cost of freight. These truckers have got to at least charge per loaded mile what the diesel costs. And a lot of them are charging more than that. So it makes it tougher for them to move those cattle around and get them where they need them. Those northern plants are short because they weren't expecting to be this short of market-ready cattle at this time. But things are really, really confusing. Our live cattle futures, we're deep now in the spot month. We've already seen delivers tendered and demanded, so they're going to happen. Looks like they're going to fall. Those first deliveries are going to fall on July the 1st. You hear all these reports that they're junk cattle and all that. They're not. And they grade those cattle. And Lana Davis is going to grade those cattle. She's the USDA grader in Amarillo, Texas. And she had an excellent trainer. And I know him very well when I look in the mirror every morning to shave. And her father was an excellent trainer. He knew how to grade her. He knows how to grade livestock, always did, always trained her how to do that. She will grade those cattle, and he will bring good cattle. And he's got the good cattle. So, all that rumor and stuff that you hear about, oh, they're just junk. Well, if you bring junk cattle in there, you're going to get discounted to the point where you don't want to bring junk cattle. So he's going to bring good cattle. She'll grade them accordingly. And that's the way that goes. But you've got 135 and a quarter sitting here at the last week of June in the spot month, and we're selling cattle for 150 at least, maybe 151 in Iowa. $15. How broken is that cattle contract if it can't get any closer to that? If you were betting on, and that's what your whole futures market is. If you were betting several months ago what the market was going to be in late June when that contract matures, and it is mature right now, and you couldn't get within $15 of what the market is, and you couldn't get within $7 or $8 of what your weighted average is in your 5 area, that's pretty poor, pretty damn poor. Let's look at your board for Thursday. June live cattle futures down another 87 cents. We've scared every long out of the market. They do not want a shelf life deteriorating fat steer in 105-degree heat. And the only way anybody would take them is if they wanted to put them back on feed, and they probably would not go back on feed after being choused around like that and hauled and messed with. They're very delicate. And we saw that here a couple weeks ago, or the weekend before last, whenever we saw those cattle die in that humid, hot, muddy pens with no wind. And that's what can happen to them whenever you start fooling around with heavy, fat, finished, obese cattle in this kind of weather. But June contract here at maturity almost down 87 cents at 135 and a quarter. It's ridiculous. August live cattle futures down $1.05 at 133.87. Your back months on live cattle futures down 72 to down $1.12. But if they can't get any closer to that on what the market's going to be when it matures, why do we keep looking at it? August feeder cattle futures up $1.70 at 174.85, and they're the opposite. Of course, that's the August contract, and we know that those cattle are going to sell really well. Those cattle in late July coming off the Flint Hills are going to sell really high, but almost 175 based on an 800-pound steer in August. Wow. September up $1.55 at 176.85. Your back months on your feeder cattle up 55 cents to up 132. Your grain futures were all down hard. Mostly a weather market. And this time of year when you got the plant emerged and they're just watching it with a magnifying glass and getting all these reports coming in and what the weather's doing here and what's going on there. We've got the warm nights now. That crop is growing. Everybody you talk to in the Corn Belt says they're looking at a bumper crop if something doesn't happen. If we get another couple of rains here, your crop is mostly made, guys. And so, we're seeing that we've had the warm weather. Everything has been really good. They were saying it was hot and dry. Well, yeah, but it was really wet before that. And now we're probably going to have some scattered showers here towards the end of the forecast. So it's perfect. Corn down 21 and a quarter cent on Thursday, ending regular trading session at 746 and 3/4. Beans down 59 and a half. Whew, how would you like to make a living trading futures on beans? And beans for July ended regular trading on Thursday at 15.93 and a quarter. Kansas City hard red winter wheat down 34 and a quarter cent, now just 10.05 a bushel. And you'd guess we were right into harvest, and likely those grain traders and your row crop farmers are thinking the same thing as the cattle guys. I look at these futures and it's like a mirage. It disappears before I can get to it. But also one reason for negativity in your grain markets is the fears of this recession that some reports say that we're nearing, but to most of us that are buying things every day, we're feeling like we're already in it. How about your fat cattle trade that we saw on Thursday? We saw Colorado print some information there. 1,900 head, just 2,200 head confirmed for the week. But your sales on Wednesday were at 138. Sales on Thursday at 145. Well, it's close enough to Colorado. They feed them mostly all up in the northern part of eastern Colorado, and you can haul those cattle from there over to Nebraska if you need to get to those plants, and it doesn't cost you too much. It's funny how those packers don't seem to worry about what the freight costs whenever they're trying to keep the market beat down, but that's a reason for problems whenever the market's going up. Iowa, 8,800 head confirmed, 17,800 head for the week. 144 to 150 was your live price, and like I said, I heard that Thursday afternoon they sold some cattle at 151 picked up. Wasn't on the report. Sure wouldn't be surprised to see it show up there by the close of the week. But mostly steady on your live sales. Your dress sales in Nebraska, $2 to $3 higher. Nebraska sold 12,200 head on Thursday. They've sold a pretty good movement of 14,500 head for the week. They're going to have to trade some more, but there's no cattle finished up there, and so they're scrambling for them, guys. But live sales 144.5 to 149 in Nebraska. Dress sales, which is the only place we saw them quoted on Thursday, from 230 to 238. Like I said, $2 to $3 higher there. Kansas, about 3,000 head confirmed on Thursday. 14,000 for the week, mostly 137. There was a pin or two there at 136, but that's $3 lower than late last week when we were selling them at 140. Texas, just about 600 head, about 8,000 for the week, and the only thing they had quoted on Thursday was just some mixed pins of cattle at 137, but that's sure $3 lower. Box beef cutout values were lower again, and that is another reason that your packers are squalling. Choice cuts 264.66 down $1.91. Selects down $1.05 at 244.94. Your slaughter aggressive pace. We'll have to see how we finish out the week, if they have a aggressive Saturday or not. But this could be another monster week. Up through Thursday, 498,000 harvested. That's 3,000 more than last week at the same time. 25,000 more than the same week a year ago. Actual slaughter information come in. Of course, it's always 2 weeks behind. Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act will make that become quicker and more timely. But 879 pounds on your average dressed steer carcass weight. That's 3 pounds less than the report before, and that's very reasonable, knowing that we were in the calves and we're running short and we're pulling green cattle right there. Talk about what else is going on. Ever.ag is a way you can navigate your risk management, especially through the LRPs, and you guys have heard a lot of talk about that. I'm down here at the Independent Cattlemen's Association of Texas in San Marcos. A lot of people talking about LRPs there. A lot of people, especially backgrounders, think that is the deal, absolutely, because you take them out based off your futures, especially this time of year. They're trading at a big premium, and then whenever you settle them, they settle on the cash market, which is down to earth. So you're ahead of the game already right there, guys. But for more information, go to ever.ag. Talk about your feeder cattle markets, your real-time index on DV auction based on an 800-pound steer up through the middle 12 states, and your cash feeder cattle auctions. 164.19 at the end of trading on Thursday. That was down $1.21. First time it's been down that much for quite a while, because we've been gaining ground like crazy on yearling feeder steers in your feeder cattle auctions. But look at some big sales on Thursday. Winter Livestock and Pratt just had 1,700, and no sale next week. They always take a harvest break, so no sale next week in Pratt, Kansas. But the trend was weird. Your market reporters in Kansas suck. So your 8 weights, they didn't have any in the 180s like they did last week. Well, that doesn't mean that the market's a foot lower like they called it. But those outstanding cattle that we talked about last week in Pratt that broke 180, weighing well into the 8s, they didn't have anything like that, but they still had a hell of a sale. Heifers were sharply higher. So, you get to yo-yoing and a roller coastering when you don't know what you're doing, reporting the market there. But look at this automated market report with Cattle Market Central. You can see your best tested weights of steers there. 411 head of 8-weight steers averaged 852 with a weighted average price on all of them at 169.83. That doesn't sound lower to most logical people. 582 head of 9-weight steers averaged 969 with a weighted average price of 163.77. Talk about another sale. Mitchell, South Dakota, Mitchell Livestock, 2,700 head there. Good market reporting there. Feeder steers steady to $1 higher. Feeder heifers steady to $4 higher. Look at a stick out quote at Mitchell, South Dakota. 54 head of 1,057 pound steers bring 165.60. Joplin Regional Stockyards had their value added wean back special there on Thursday. 79 head of steer calves weaned and vaccinated, 664 pounds, bring $185. Talk about Brian Little's sale. Don't get a chance to do that very often, but a good friend of mine and a really good guy in Coffeyville Livestock in Coffeyville, Kansas. 63 head, 672 pound steers in Coffeyville bring $179.60. El Dorado Livestock in El Dorado, Kansas had a good sale on Thursday. Sold 114 head of steers, weighed 959 at 166.20. How about Bluegrass Stockyard South in Stanford, Kentucky? They sell 60 head of steers, weighed 873 at 167.20. Let's go way out west. You guys like to hear these big quotes. Well, they sell them really good way out west, and I mean close to the coast, guys. Orland Livestock Commission Yard in Orland, California. 208 head in one swack. Weighed 688 pounds, 174.75. But the best quote that I saw anywhere on Thursday in your National Beef Wire, top quote for the day, come out of Winter Livestock in Pratt, Kansas. 57 head of steers, weighed 928 and 171.60. That's your feeder flash for Friday.